Comfortably Zoned Radio Network presents When the Dodgers and Jints Played in New York, with hosts Peter V. Trunk and Ralph Sig Tyko. When the Dodgers played the Jints in New York. I'm Ralph Tyko. My co-host is Peter V. Trunk Sr. Peter, how are you? Welcome to our first edition.
I'm very fine, Ralph. How about yourself? How are you?
I hardly could sleep last night thinking about this was our first recording, and it's something I've thought about in the back of my head for a long time. You and I have been talking ball for a long time. We're exactly the same age. We're born in 1946, original baby boomers, makes us 69 years old, and we were both 11 years old when the Giants and Dodgers moved from New York. It's still very difficult for me to say. Moved from New York. I don't think we turned 11 yet. We were 10 years old. It was traumatizing, and those days were just golden. Those were our days, and we're going to try over the next few weeks, many weeks, I hope, to pass on some of our memories, explain why it was what it was. I think you described it best, Peter, the other day, in your opinion. All we have is opinions. We're not opinionated. We just have views and opinions. In your opinion, it was the best era of baseball ever. And it wasn't just baseball itself. It was all that surrounded it. And the Giants rivalry was incredible. There were days when baseball got the best athletes. They weren't competing with basketball and football so much. There were only 8 teams in each league. It was wonderful. It's post-war. It was good times, especially to grow up and be a kid. So I'm going to start this with a little musical intro. This is a fellow by the name of Count Basie singing about the days that we grew up in, Peter, and the ultimate hero of both of us. I mean, we love Willie. I love Willie. You love the Duke, but all of our heroes, basically, common denominator. You couldn't help but not love this guy right here. So give a listen to the Count. We got you, Count.
Hit that ball. And when he swung his bat, the crowd went wild because he knocked that ball a solid mile. Yeah, boy. Yes, Jackie hit that ball. Satchel Paige is mellow, so is Campanella. Newcomb and Dobie too. But it's a natural fact, when Jackie comes to bat, the other team is through. Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball? Did he hit it? Yeah, and that ain't all. He's all home. Yes, Jackie's real gone. is real gone. 'Cause the Jackie is a real gone guy.
That's Mr. Count Basie honoring Jackie Robinson. What do you think?
Yeah.
I know what you think. Could be. It stands alone music-wise. I mean, it's just absolutely terrific music.
It is. Who
Those
was
were days
singing?
when
Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know who was singing. That's a very, very good
I
question.
got to Google that after we get off the air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That. And
If we could
later
stay
on
on
in the
Jackie
show, I'm going to
just for
play
a
the
second.
Willie song. Every DiMaggio had a song. Willie, Mickey Mantle had a song, but Jackie and Willie, they're tied for the two best, and we decided to give you Jackie first because without Jackie, things would not have been the same. Obviously, in baseball, the rivalry itself revolved around Jackie Robinson and Leo DeRocher, the way I saw it.
It did.
And why don't you give me your insight as to that?
Well, I don't know if it's. I don't know if you would call it insight, but okay, let's talk about Jackie for a minute. First of all, for our younger listeners, guys that aren't so long in the tooth as you and I, and we were 11 when they moved, by the way. I was born in August, and you were born in October or November?
November, yes.
Okay, so in 1957, we both turned 11, me in August and you in November. Jackie Robinson, for the younger people that never got to see him, just see him on highlight films, et cetera, there's a couple of things that I think I can help the younger generation to relate a little bit. If you remember seeing Rickey Henderson in his prime, now I'm talking about Rickey Henderson in his prime, not as a New York Met, not like that, not even probably as a Yankee, although he had a couple of outstanding years with them. But when Rickey Henderson played out in Oakland for the A's, when he was at his apogee, when he was in his halcyon days, that's the closest thing that I can tell you. That's what I saw in Jackie Robinson. He would dominate a game, completely dominate the game, whether with his legs, with his bat, with his glove, with his hustle, with his whatever. He would take a game over all by himself. And
we could be talking about Willie too with the same description.
Yes, but our younger people probably wouldn't remember Willie in his prime either. Although he did have some monster seasons out in San Francisco. I'm not saying he didn't, but
went underappreciated.
Oh yeah.
For all practical purposes.
They all went for Cepeda and McCovey, and Willie didn't get his due out there. But anyway, that's the way I think of Jackie Robinson. Another thing about Jackie Robinson that even the most ardent Dodger fan would probably be surprised to learn that in all of his games that he played as a Dodger, he played every game as a Brooklyn Dodger, all of his games, if you took all of the starting lineups that he started in throughout his career, what number in the order did he bat the most times? In other words, was he a leadoff batter the most times? Was he a second-place hitter the most times, et cetera, et cetera? And I bet you wouldn't be able to guess what it was. Now, you probably
I think
know.
I might be able to. We might have talked about this, but so I won't be the guesser. But
okay, it's not even close. It's not even close. I mean, he batted in a certain position in the order way more than any other position in the order, and it's mind-boggling. It's stunning.
It's a position you would have thought that Campy would bat in, and you would thought of Snyder batting third, Campy batting fourth, and maybe even Robinson batting as low down as sixth. Because
seventh or eighth, yeah.
Right. When you think about
No doubt about it.
he was the leadoff man more than anybody else. I'm sorry, he was the cleanup batter more than anyone.
He was. He batted fourth. Believe it or not, he batted fourth the most times of all the games he played throughout his career. He batted fourth. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up in Retro Sheet Baseball. They have all the numbers broken down. And if you look up all of the box scores from the 1956 World Series, Jackie's last appearances on a baseball field, game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, Jackie Robinson batted fourth, and fourth. Cleanup.
Oh, yeah.
Only one year did he drive in 1949, his most valuable player year. He drove in an astronomical number, like 124 runs or so. All the other years he was underneath 100, but he did bat cleanup more than any other position during his career. And we all know that he started off at first base because they had Eddie Stanky at second in 1947. Right. And then when they moved Stanky, because of racial prejudice, he moved to second. Then he got a little slower and a little fatter, let's be honest. They moved him to third. Then they moved him to left field. Then he would come in left field, third base, left field, third base. But he always batted fourth. It was weird. Mostly batted fourth, not always.
Right.
When I was,
and they were able to do that because of a guy who was so terrifically versatile himself, and that was Junior Gilliam.
Oh, boy, what a ball player.
What a ball player. And he was able to make them flexible enough, came in at second base, make them flexible enough, because remember, they were deep all over. They had Don Houck at third base, Sandy Amorose in the outfield. They were a terrifically deep team against lefties or righties. And the only real argument about Snyder and what have you was that he got to face a lot of right-handed pitchers.
Absolutely, positively.
Because the rest of the lineup was loaded with right-handed sluggers. Campanella.
All right-handed sluggers, you're right.
Hodges.
Carrillo, right. Yep.
Right. But here's one for you, another Dodger stat for you that I'm sure you know, and might surprise a lot of people out there. Who hit the most home runs in the 50s in the National League?
Duke Snider.
Absolutely. Now, he did play in what we used to lovingly call a bandbox, Ebbets Field, and it was. But you know what? With these bandboxes, with the short left field and the Polo Grounds and Bobby Thompson's home run, it's the same left field for 27 other outs. During the game, there was a whole bunch of guys didn't hit little lazy fly balls that went over Pafko's head by 17 inches. So all that stuff, when you think about it, but what great teams. What was your favorite Dodger team in the 50s? And I'll tell you my favorite Giant team.
Well, you're not going to believe this because as I look back now, being the age that I am and the age that I was when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn, I was, like I said, born in 46. So, like, when I was 9 and trying out for the Little League and stuff, that was when the Dodgers won the World Series. And I just loved them. I loved them. My mother listened to them in the kitchen with the radio on top of the refrigerator. If they were on TV, we'd have them on TV. If they were playing the Giants at the Polo Grounds, my mother, listen to this, Ralph, my mother would put the game on Channel 11 without the sound, and she would turn the radio up to hear Vin Scully on the radio because she didn't want to listen to Russ Hodges.
Whoa.
How about that?
You know what? When the Giants played the Dodgers...
But wait a minute. Hold it, Ralph. You asked me a pointed question. I have to give you a pointed answer. My favorite team of the Brooklyn Dodgers, because it was so sad and it was so heart-wrenching and it was so emotional, was 1957. And you might be scratching your head going, wait a minute, 57? They finished third place, about a dozen games back and everything. Yeah, but we heard all the rumors in '57 from May on that they were going to move, and of course we didn't believe it, but we heard them over and over and over. So my love was intensified that they couldn't be moving, they couldn't leave me, they couldn't go anywhere, they couldn't go to L.A. That's ridiculous. They couldn't do it. So I watched every single inning of every game if I could, and listened if I couldn't. I'd listen on the radio and stuff. And they had guys that I wasn't even in love with playing then, like Gino Simoli, and I wanted Snyder to play every game, but his knee was bad. So Simoli would play a lot of times, and Roseboro would catch instead of Campy, and all these things were happening, and I just wanted to put if I could make a metaphor, I wanted to put my arms around the whole team, and I just wanted to keep them there. And so 1957, believe it or not, was my year. I was 11 years old. I was in the Little League. I wore number 4. I played center field. Oh man. Now you might say, well, gee, Pete, come on. They won the World Series in 1955. That should be your favorite team. Or they scored 1,000 runs and hit so many home runs and broke all kinds of records in 1953. That should be your favorite team. I was too young to really know anything. I'm not saying that I had a lot of wisdom in 1957. I did not. But because of the rumors that they were moving, it just made it more and more emotional to a point where it was like, don't even tell me about the name Los Angeles. Don't even mention it, because I'll get tears in my eyes at the time. So the 57 Dodgers, when I first started collecting memorabilia and saving all my stuff and putting it in, keeping it safe and all that, whatever you want to call it, the 57 bubblegum cards, the 57 yearbook, all the 57 stuff I did first, and then I worked my way backwards. But, 1957
that was your favorite? I understand.
Very weird.
Yeah. Because my team, my favorite team was the 51 Giants, only because it was the first team I ever got to see, and I have vivid memories of them as they were constructed, me 4.5 years old, going to games with my grandfather, before they brought up Willie, when they had Bobby Thompson in center, and after they brought up Willie, he would go, we'd just point to everyone. There's Dark at short, and Stanky at second, and Lockman at first, Bueller in right, and Thompson. I can remember there was a time when I'm blanking on it. He just passed away. Monty Irvin played first base for a while. Giants. Lockman was out and left. But when Willie Mays was brought up on May 23rd, changed the total configuration. Thompson went in to play third. Lockman permanently in left. Monty Irvin in lefts, because he had lost all his range by that time. By the time Monty Irvin came up, he gave the best
he was old,
of his life in the Negro. He was old, probably older than his baseball age, and certainly worn down by the travels of the Negro
buses,
leagues.
Right?
The buses, the playing 3 games a day and traveling.
Yeah. Sure.
That doesn't do you well. We lost a hero from those days, and I want to stress this in the first show. I'm babbling all. I'm so excited, but you and I both enjoy the memories of our respected rivals. I love the memories of the Dodgers, and you, the Giants. Both of us will wear each other's uniforms, or shirts, Brooklyn cap, only because without the rivals, the love for the team doesn't it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? Without the Giants, there's no Dodgers. Without the Dodgers, there's no Giants from our standpoint and our memory. And that is a place in life I never thought I'd be. We hated the Dodgers as a kid, being a Giant fan. The Dodger fans hated not only the Giants, but they hated the kids that root for the Giants. I can remember having it never came to fisticuffs, but we had verbal arguments that were, are you telling me that this, that, are you serious? Are you going to tell me that? And we'd stand on the corner, we'd argue, we'd go back and forth. But when it came down to it, we just, the memories, one without the other is impossible, and they enhance each other. And I remember Happy Felton very, very well. That was the most unique pregame show. Tell us about Happy Felton. You were a Dodger fan.
Happy Felton's knothole gang. He used to come on before every game, and he would have a bunch of little leaguers from around New York. Maybe he'd have 3 or 4 of them. I forget which. My cousin Michael was there one time, and he won. He got picked. And he would have that.
His brother, Alan Rosenblum, was there once, and he got picked. So Michael Smith, my cousin, he's now dead. God rest his soul. But anyway, Happy Felton was this bigger than life guy, and he wore a Dodger uniform, Ralph, on the show. He wasn't dressed in a sweatsuit or a tie and jacket. He actually wore a Dodger uniform with a Dodger cap and everything. And a jacket, the beautiful satin blue jacket with
satin jacket, right? And he would come on and he would say, "Oh, what's your name?" And the kid would say, "Joe Jones. I play third base for St. Aloysius in the so and so league out in Queens or something like that." Okay, what's your name? Love it. And then he'd say, "Okay, today we have Duke Snider," and Duke Snider would be there, and he'd have a bat with a smile on his face, and Happy would say hello to Duke, and Duke would say hello to Happy and the boys and stuff. And then they would hit ground balls and throw pop-ups or whatever to these kids. And then the Duke or the Dodger of the day, whomever it was, would pick the so-called quote-unquote winner. And the winner would get, I don't know, free LC ice creams and a pair of seats to the next Ladies' Day game or whatever. For him and his mother, whatever they got. I forget what they got, but they got some cool prizes and stuff.
But they'd also get batting tips. They'd get tips from the pros,
too. Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Duke would say when you go back on a fly ball, in order not to fall down, you don't want to get your feet tied up. If the ball is hit the left center field, your first stride should be with your right foot or whatever, and then when you're batting, you swing, right. The only time I didn't like watching Happy Felton was when he had Amorose on, Sandy Amorose, because I, as a little kid, I couldn't understand Sandy. Sandy had a real thick accent, Cuban accent, Spanish accent. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He would say things like, hold the glove, he would leave out verbs and he'd just use nouns or whatever like that.
In broken English, he was learning a second language.
Right, broken English, and as a little kid, you have no sophistication. I had none. I had zero sophistication when it came to that. So when Sandy Amorose was on, I used to say, "Oh, Mom, I don't know what he's talking about." It was funny. Really,
my father would speak Yiddish to him. It would be no problem.
There you go.
Sandy, I'm giving you listen how to say that. You would say. Good days, Peter. Good days. Let's take a little break. We'll listen to some Willie, some Say Hey Willie, because maiden show, 2 best baseball songs ever. Here we go.
Go ahead.
All right. These are the Treniers.
Okay.
Say Hey Willie.
Go get it. What do you mean, go get it? Man, that ball's way in left field. I don't care what field it's in. Willie plays all field. Every time we come to the game, we talk about Willie plays all the field. That's right. You better call Willie and ask him. Call him. Okay. Hey, Willie. Yes. Are you Willie, man? Yes. Whose ball was that?
Why was it?
In left field.
Well, that's Irvin's ball.
I told you that. Every time we come to the game, we got to talk about the next time I'm going to sit in the grandstand.
Hey, fellas, what's your name?
Say who?
Say Willie. Say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. That giant kid is great. When he hits the ball, it's long gone man. Hits it farther than can be in. Swings the bat like a little laid pipe. When they reach the ball, it's overripe. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. Say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. That giant kid is great. He runs the bases like a choo-choo train. Swings around the back like an aeroplane. His cap flies off when he passes third. And he heads home like an eagle bird. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. Say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. That giant kid is great. Yes, he covers center like he had jet shoes. The other batters get the Willie blues. Anything hit his way is out. Man, it just don't pay those guys to clout. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. Say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. That giant kid is great. When Willie said his Uncle Sam, he left the Giants in an awful jam. But now he's back, and he's the old joy. And Willie's still a growing boy. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. Say hey.
Say who?
Swinging at the plate. Say hey.
Say who?
Say Willie. That giant kid is great. That giant kid is great. Say Willie. What you gonna say? Say hey.
All right, I didn't cut it off this time. How's that?
Say hey.
What a talent. What a man. What a technical genius.
I'll tell you what, Willie Mays is the greatest ball player I ever saw with my two eyes to this day.
To this day, absolutely.
To this day.
And he brought a joy to the field that
Yep. Always
like
laughing.
no one else. It was great. I am only sorry as a Met fan, we both became Met fans years later, that when they brought Willie back, it was he gave him some moments, and they did win it in 71. At least they won. In 73 when they got to the World Series. But it was sad to see him stay too long. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you remember, I don't know how good your memory is. Mine is shot to hell, but for baseball, for some reason, it's pretty good. I remember the first game he played for the Mets, he hit a home run to beat the Giants.
Yes, absolutely.
He should have quit right after that game.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. It went downhill in a lot of ways after that. Mm-hmm. He was joyous, and in a way, he did finally gain acceptance. I wanted to clarify that out in San Francisco. He's a guard at this point.
He should be.
Not that McCovey isn't, but
yep, I know
something. It's recognized. California's a big adjustment for Willie.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, San Francisco is a liberal town. This liberal town, that racist town back then. I don't know.
Wow.
Things have changed. They gave Willie an awful hard time about housing, and kind of broke his spirit. He was close to personal stuff at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And losing Leo DeRocher as a manager was very difficult for him because Leo was he just worshipped him and treated him in a way that brought the best out in him. And it was all sad. The transition out here was sad for everybody. We've had a good half hour. This has been a great show.
It's been a great show.
I want you to just leave me with a Red Barber memory that you might have. Because I started to tell you, when the Giants played the Dodgers or any other game was on, my family had Red Barber on. Red Barber.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Russ Hodges, historic call, Giants win the pennant this, Giants win the pennant that.
Right.
But the redhead was special to me for the reason that I think he made it possible, a Southern gentleman, to come to New York, reached away for Jackie Robinson. He, Pee Wee Reese, those are two people that really helped make it easy. And in his autobiography, he says, I had to take a big, deep breath. I'm a Southerner.
Yeah, he had to talk to his wife. He had to talk to his wife, Red Barber says, when they signed Jackie Robinson. And, of course, it didn't take him long. Maybe it took him 5 minutes, but at least he had the balls to say that he actually had to sit down and think about it for 5 to 10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the horrible surroundings he was raised in and how far behind the South is and how they continue to keep us down as
they do.
society. But notwithstanding, he was able to tell the story, tell the game, talk in such a pleasing manner. It was just music to my ears as a kid. And
well, before we leave the airways, I have two very short little anecdotes about the old redhead, if you would allow me.
I would love it.
Okay. Vin Scully tells the story that he got along well with Barber when he first came up as a Dodger announcer. But one day before a game, Red Barber was coming through the clubhouse or the bar inside Ebbets Field. I think they had a bar inside, whatever. Red Barber was walking through and he saw Vin Scully with a bunch of folks around, maybe a couple of players or something, hours and hours before the game. But it was a night game, and Vin Scully was having a beer. And he didn't say anything to him in front of everybody, but when he got him one-on-one, he gave him hell for that, for drinking a beer on the day of the game, right before the game, even if it was 2 or 3 hours before the game. He gave him hell for that. The next little anecdote about Red Barber, I'm going to have to bring us to a point where Red Barber was a Yankee announcer after he left the Dodgers, contract dispute, and he became a Yankee announcer. And the Yankees had a magician third baseman at the time named Cletus Boyer. Cletus Boyer had a couple of brothers that played in the major leagues too. One was a pitcher, Cloyd or something like that. I forget. Anyway, Cletus Boyer Cletus Boyer made this diving stop. Now, of course, he made thousands of them, but there's one game I'm watching, and Red Barber's the announcer. Cletus Boyer dives towards the foul line and gets this, 200-mile-an-hour, two-hop ground ball and slides across the bag and the baseline, comes up with all the white on his chin and face and everything like that from the foul line, and from one knee makes a throw right on the money to first base to get the runner. Now, any announcer that I know of would have said something like, and Boyer dives, he makes a great play, and he gets up on his knee, he makes the throw, holy cow, he made the throw, and he's out. That would be a normal call, okay? Cleet Boyer, I'm watching on TV, Cleet Boyer dives through the whiteness of the baseline, comes up with it on his face and everything, comes up on one knee, makes a beautiful throw to Skowron at first base, and they get the runner. And Red Barber goes, "Well, Mr. Boyer." That was it. That was the whole call. That was the entire call.
I can, in my mind's eye, I could just hear him do that, Mr. Boyer.
Well, Mr. Boyer.
It
that was the whole
TV.
Call.
Yeah, I know. It was beautiful. Absolutely. That's a great call. That's a beauty. That's a beauty. Getting back to the dispute, he was fired by O'Malley when Branch Rickey left. O'Malley hated Jackie Robinson. He hated anybody associated that took some of the glow away from O'Malley.
Exactly.
And he picked on Red Barber, and there was a big dispute. They didn't want to pay him in the World Series. Something like that with Gillette. I don't remember.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. He was supposed to get $2,000 more for doing the World Series, and he didn't get it. So he did the World Series, and then he said, "That's it. I'm out of here."
Right.
And he did not have lovely things to say about Walter O'Malley. He called him the most devious man in baseball.
Right. He also
Barber called Walter O'Malley the most devious man in baseball. Now that's strong coming from a guy like Walter Red Barber.
He also didn't like Joe Garagiola, who he worked with in those Yankee years, at all. Mm-hmm. He remembers when Garagiola unnecessarily spiked Jackie Robinson, and he didn't like announcers that got their break because they were players.
Exactly.
Or at least he didn't like. I can't say he helped break in Tony Kubek. I remember in Yankee doubleheaders between games.
He also got along well with Phil Rizzuto. But the Garagiola thing, I remember that. Part of it was the Jackie spiking, and part of it was that Garagiola tried to be a comic on the air. He tried to be funny. He tried to promote his books and stuff. He thought he was the funniest guy in the world, you know.
And he did write some mildly amusing books. What was some of your favorite books baseball books that you read growing up?
Oh, boy. You know what? My favorite books when I was very young were a whole panoply of baseball books by a guy named John R. Tunis, Tunis.
The Double
John
Play Kids.
R. Tunis.
Did he write the Double Play Kids, stuff like that?
Yeah, he played he wrote The Kid from Tompkinsville, The Kid Who Batted 1,000, Rookie of the Year, stuff like that. He wrote all of those books. Of course, they were all made up, but they were based on the Dodgers of the 1930s when he was a kid. When he wrote those books, John R. Tunis, he was, if I'm correct, and I think I am, he was a professor of English literature at NYU at the time when he wrote those books. And I'm gonna guess right now, I should have looked this up before the show, he wrote these books from like 1936 to 1946. It was like a decade of books. And he came out with like 6 or 8 of them. I was lucky enough, I used to go to the library, get them out and read them when I was young, when I was 10, whatever. But I was lucky enough, about 5 years ago, I saw all of his books, complete the whole bunch of them, 8 or 10 of them, on Amazon for like dirt cheap. And I jumped on it and I bought them. And I reread them on the beach when I would go to the beach with my wife Linda and stuff. They were just incredible books. And as I got older, of course, there were many other books. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to like pass on this because there was more than 5 or 10 that just completely blew me away. Ball 4 was one of them.
The Jackie Robinson story.
Well, the Jackie Robinson story was like kind of horseshit because it was written like, you know, like it was a pleasant day. It was sunny, and Jackie was happy, and Jackie waved to his wife, and he hit a double, and it was like that. It wasn't a real book. I like books like Ball 4, The Long Season by Brosnan,
Brosnan's
stuff
book,
like those kind of books. Oh man, I ate those books alive. I loved those books. Loved them.
And later, Dynasty and Bums with Peter Golenbach, another member of the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network family.
He's a Hall of Famer to me.
Peter?
Roger Angel,
and
other. I better stop right there because I'm leaving so many guys out that I really, really like. We'll have time have time to explore all these books and all these thoughts in many future shows, Peter. This is terrific. Very good.
Let me just tell you, it's a pleasure, and this is like a lifelong thing, dream come true. We could talk about something that really we both have passion for, and for us to have that kind of passion after those teams left us as kids really says something. We didn't come away embittered. I didn't like it. I was a little pissed, and I still have a hard time with the word San Francisco Giants on some levels.
Right.
I'm accepting that it's one big franchise. I'm accepting that the Dodgers are really the Brooklyn Dodgers. And when I see Sandy Koufax at spring training, or it's all coming together. The Mets help.
Yes, yes, they did.
Let's just say, as much as I love them, I've been an original Met fan. I've followed them. It's been hard to follow them in California until recently with the internet, with internet radio and that sort of thing.
Yes.
It was very difficult, but it was never the same. As great as 69 was, as great as 86 was, there was something when you were a kid, and for baseball to pull that out from a kid, just so O'Malley could make more money, so a dispute over where the stadium should go, with no Robert Moses and all that shit, with no heart for the kids. And kid's 5, you teach him baseball, the next 5 years of his life, he gets to love it, and then you pull it out from under him and you make him a Yankee fan for a while. Not even a Yankee fan. For me, it's being a Yankee worshiper. I worship those teams of those years. They were the competition for the main competition for the Dodgers in a lot of ways. But to get there, those pennant races were incredible. And I just want to hit on 51 while we mention it.
Sure.
When you and I first became friends on the internet through our baseball love and through some of these forums, one of them was Baseball Fever, which is a baseball almanac site that really doesn't, we're really more into Facebook now, but I go back there and I have a lot of memories of sharing a lot of stuff back there. And I recognized your passion at that time, and you recognized mine. And it was everything from the game to the uniforms to the caps to the colors of the caps. I mean, we're nuts, let's face it. There's a certain amount. They could come and get us with a frickin' net, and we really had not much to say. Okay, you going to feed me? Put the game on. I'll sit here for a while. Because we understand that we're nuts. But you were the one that introduced me to a book that I had been avoiding reading for a long time. And that was...
The Echoing Green.
Remember, Cathedrals, what's the name of that book?
About Echoing Green?
Echoing Green, absolutely. And I put off reading it for a
hell
long
of a book,
time.
boy. Hell of a book.
Hell of a book. And I come to realize that although you had to hit the ball and you had to pitch the ball, knowing what pitch was coming makes it a little easier. And I sincerely believe at this point that Branca knew what was coming from having read.
You mean Thompson knew? Thompson knew what was coming.
Oh, Thompson knew what was coming. Now, as Magley said, and I quote, "Why don't you throw a different pitch, Tyko?"
Yeah.
That's what he told Branca. And then it turns out that more, as a result of this book, here's the real kicker, sports fans. As a result of this book, Branca, who had every reason to believe that his mother was a Catholic Italian, as a result of this book, people did some research into her immigration status. Ralph Branca's a Jew boy. He didn't know it. He didn't know it until after this book. He
found out when he was like 75 years old.
That he's Jewish, right? And he didn't know he was gonna. He didn't know whether to hit himself in the mouth for killing Christ or hit a Russian soldier on the street. He was all fadrekt, as they say. He was confused, and but he's a bitter man. I mean,
yes, he is.
Did not accept it well. To this day, he doesn't accept it well. Hope he lives forever.
Ralph, hey, I thought
I don't blame him. Yeah, on that level.
I thought he accepted it well in 52, 53, 54, like that. He only got bitter lately. Like in his old age, he got all bitter and stuff. I used to hear him on the radio. They cheated and they did this, they did that. Back in the day, there's pictures of him pretending he's strangling Bobby Thompson. They used to go on the road together.
They go to baseball meetings and they'd sing songs together.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. I mean, he just got bitter as he got older. I hope that doesn't happen to us. You think we'll get bitter, Ralph?
As we get older, when we get older, what are you talking about? I think we did it. But you know what? It's a privilege to get old. Everybody doesn't get to do it. And like people say, well, you're an old geezer. They joke. I say, I'm happy to be. I hope to be older. I hope. And it's like I was telling people, 69 is the new 67.
Yeah, that's funny. You said that the last show. I almost choked. I was laughing so hard. When they asked Keith Richards, are you glad to be here? Keith Richards says, I'm glad to be anywhere.
Yes, absolutely. And we're all amazed, Keith. I got to tell you, Keith Richards lives. I'm going to live forever. There's no question.
There you go.
All right. So let's keep doing this until we're 90. And,
okay.
That'll be our promise to each other. I made another promise with my cousin Mike today. I have a first cousin. We hadn't talked in a long time, and we hope to stick it out to 90. And we promised each other that we would. So be part of that because I can't do this stuff alone. There'd be a lot of dead air. Okay. So next week, same time, same place?
Thank you, Ralph. Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up just by saying to everybody out there that life is a roller coaster, ups and downs, swinging around, this, that, and the other thing. Try not to get too high or too low. Remember, things will all even out down the track. It ain't that bad. Be grateful for what you have and keep on keeping on. Thanks, everybody. This was fun for me. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.